Hi, it's me making another video for the first time in weeks, but today we're going to be talking about the future of My Hero Academia, if you couldn't tell by the title of this video and the thumbnail. So, if you know me and my history on my channel, you've watched all my videos or whatever, which you probably haven't because I only have like 2 consistent viewers, but, I'm kind of more indifferent to this series than most of the vocal majority in this fandom.
Deku! You're such a silly baka. Like, why do you gotta be such a silly baka?
And because of that, I've kind of refrained from talking about it, but here I wanted to do a more comprehensive review of what I think the future of the story is going to be like. I've made a few other videos on like the future of a series that I probably haven't updated in more than a few months, but today I don't care about video length, so I'm going to be talking as long as I want to in really simple editing, and yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start with the big boy, the one that we've really got to tackle here. Our main protagonist, Deku, but I guess he's not really that big of a boy, unless you've seen the off-brand. But that's also not what we're here for. So Deku, the main character, as we know, he's a bit of a nice guy, I'd say. And if you couldn't tell, this video is going to be riddled with spoilers, so let's just get right into it. Deku's most consistent character trait is that he's nice to a gosh darn mother flippin' T every single time. And so, another spoiler if you are still here for some reason, when we get to see him talking with the rest of the vestiges of One for All, then he's basically like, no, I will not kill Shigaraki because I saw a little boy in there that if I was a kid I could have also played with him. Well, Deku, Shigaraki isn't a freaking child anymore, and you ain't a child either, and even if he acts like a child, that does not excuse his actions, because a child with military grade weaponry power and uses that military grade weaponry power is able to be justifiably punished, and I don't understand why this doesn't go through your gosh darn head. And of course Horikoshi's like, well, we gotta have our main character to be this gosh darn bubble of positivity, so yeah, what do the rest of the vestiges of One for All say? Nana's like, go right on ahead, you're a nice guy, I like you. Oh god. Okay, I'll calm down. Yeah, I was really hoping that this series would go in a slightly different direction once everything just happened with this entire sort of war arc, and then it would amp up to make Deku a sort of more, edgy, grungily protagonist, because it seems like he was, like Horikoshi was going into that direction of having it be more superhero based, so maybe he would be more based on Batman, who is also definitely more edgier than the rest of a lot of other superheroes or whatever, but now he seems to be more like Spider-Man, which is cool. Spider-Man, he got the black whip and stuff, new power that he got, if you are still here with the spoilers, but that really does not excuse the actions of the actual character. And when dealing with like characters in general, like characters that have done some bad stuff in their lives, I feel like Horikoshi like generally handles this well. Like if you've seen Endeavor as a character in general, like he's had a lot of ups and downs, let's say, and like he's not the best guy, and we get to see like all of the little different facets of him, even more with his flashback where we got to see Toya, and not gonna lie, Toya, I know some of you are gonna be like, oh yeah, Endeavor, all his fault, but Toya, not gonna lie, he kind of caused that on himself. I'll just say that. I'll probably get more into that later, but if Deku's gonna keep acting like this. I don't know how the series is really gonna recover from it. Either he does actually end up killing Shigaraki, and that's actually when his mentality on heroes and heroism changes, because he'll be forced to realize that sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Like we saw that with Hawks, where he's actually like handling the situation well, where he's saying straight out, yes, I had to kill this person because he did this and I saw that he could do X in the future. But Deku is not thinking of it in that way. He's thinking of the person as they are, like in their emotions or whatever, I guess. But that's not going to help in terms of actually saving people, even though he does want to find Shigaraki. But again, this happens a lot in anime where like they want to go after the person, but once they get there, they don't really even know what to say, and they don't have a real way of confronting the villain. And Deku, we've seen over the course of these chapters that he's definitely become a more mature protagonist, and he also definitely wants to seek out Shigaraki. And we saw this when he was fighting Muscular, and he asked him where he was, even though like 3 chapters before he was like, okay, Shigaraki has a tracking quirk, so I'm not gonna go back to UA because I don't want to endanger other people. Bro, he'll come to you, man. Like, I feel like your main priority right now should be dealing with the rampaging villains that are going on and destroying the entirety of Japan right now. So that's a strange writing decision, I'll just say. And now I want to talk about One for All for a little bit. One for All, obviously, it gets passed down, but we're seeing now that it can't get passed down again because it builds up in a person's body too much, and then by the next generation that Deku will be able to pass on the quirk to, no one will be able to get it because no one will be quirkless at that point, unless you want to give it to like an old man or something, which would be funny, not gonna lie, even though he probably would not have the power for long either. So this is One for All's last chance to defeat All for One and Shigaraki as he stands, which is why it's so important that Deku is able to actually take out Shigaraki. I don't know how this is not like something that should be of the absolute importance. I don't understand what Nana is going out about not being able to kill her grandson because he's just like a good guy, and she's proud that she passed the quirk on to good people, because that's not going to cut it. Like we've seen what this man is capable of, and now we're seeing that that's going on tenfold because we have a lot of villains also attacking the city, which is not going to be good for anyone. And I feel like Nana should understand that, even if she's thinking that it's still good to have like good people as heroes, where we've seen that most people who were known or seen as good people or as heroes are now not able to deal with this current situation. So even good people or heroes are not necessarily the best people for the job, because we've seen time and time again, people don't want to deal with this shiz. Like, stuff is traumatic. The only people that are now still defending the city are high schoolers, and the top 3 heroes being Endeavor, Bestinist, and Hawks. And we've seen what kind of person Endeavor is. We've seen what kind of person Hawks is. Hawks has killed a person. And then Bestinist, he's just Bestinist. I have no qualms against him, except his gosh darn long neck. Oh no, not his long neck. But anyway, back to One for All. We've also now seen in the latest chapter what's happening with the vestiges of the second and third users, who were obviously there at the time of the first user because they had to get it passed on somehow. So we know that the second and third user were alive at the same time, and basically were like, I guess, like the same in looks when the second user was first in contact with One for All. So the first user, we also know he was affiliated with All for One, obviously, because they were brothers, and All for One like put him in a cage. But then the second user is also like a good guy, and that he's reaching out to All for One for All. Yes, don't blame me if I mix those up. Oh god, that is gonna get confusing as I keep going on this with this video. But the second user, I feel like he's supposed to be a parallel to Deku if he was properly growing up in this time, even though they kind of have similar personalities, where like he seems like a really nice guy. He'll reach out his hand to help people even if they're in like such a strange situation, but he also knows what he's got to do when he's got to do it. Like this guy, he was killing all for one's minions and all that other stuff left and right. Like this guy, he knows what he got to do, and we still don't know anything about the third user. And also second user, not Bakugo. Great. Great. Glad that headcanon has just gone out the window, but let's talk about the headcanon that, of course, is canon, which is our main man, Dobby. Dobby, a former member of the Todoroki family, I'll just call him that. He wants revenge, and he's also going to be the main way of inciting Todoroki and Shoto's and Endeavor's like kind of character development, and maybe like Endeavor's proper character arc in the story, because they have this confrontation with him that has been a long time coming, because this is what Dobby wants, and this is not going to end until Dobby gets this, because either way, Endeavor is going to be some kind of screwed over, but with this is evil. Either perturb or preserve his position as the number one hero now, because the way that he handles this is going to be so important for his career going forward, because as we've seen, all One for All is the kind of main power at this point, and Endeavor is still kind of getting sidelined, even though he's the number one hero. Even though we've seen with All Might, he was a very impressive lad all throughout his career. It shows us that even after all this time, Endeavor, he's gonna have to try to catch up to All for One in some sort of way, shape, or form, or he will become kind of irrelevant. And fourth factor in these three factors being the three main Todorokis that are kind of involved in this is, of course, Hawks, because Hawks does not really have a clear purpose in the story besides actually being with Endeavor, because we know that he looks up to Endeavor, and after his whole infiltration with the villain army, which has now gone to absolute doo-doo, he does not really have as much of like a proper point in the story. But the only other thing that he has is this kind of feeling of admiration towards Endeavor, which is why he's still going to stick with him. And the top three heroes are, of course, trying to battle other villains and do what they can to save the city, while also following Deku and seeing where his journey takes him as he evolves into a new kind of hero, sort of Dark Knight of sorts, but not really, because he's still the same guy. And even in one of the translations I saw, he still said, "Darn." That's right, darn. Ooh, yes, our new anti-hero, our sort of vigilante baby boy, of course, is still saying words like darn. That's our Deku. Oh, he never changes. But gosh darn, do I hope those TikToks change, but that's still besides the point. And I feel like it's been like 14 minutes and I still haven't talked about what I actually think the future of the story is going to be like, because according to Horikoshi, it's going to have to go a certain way, with Deku being this kind of a savior of sorts, and he's probably going to have some sort of anime bullshits where he finds a way to take down Shigaraki and All for One, if they're fused at that point, or if All for One is just incapacitated in some other way. with the power of friendship, or with him being able to take away Shigaraki's powers or something like that, so that he can never harm villains again, the kind of Avatar kind of situation. But I don't know if they're going to do that, because it would seem like a real cop out and kind of copying Avatar, because people think that that was really good, but they're not going to copy that because that was also very mainstream. But that was a whole quick tangent. Okay, let me actually get specific here. So UA students will probably have another sort of arc where they're dealing with Deku's loss, I'll say, in the class, but also trying to get stronger, because I assume that even if they're trying to train on their own, they will also be having to do a lot of like saving people from villains or whatever, or fighting villains, because the hero forces are running thin right now, if I do say so myself. I feel like a lot of people are also getting a lot of hopes up for foreign involvement, even though Japan has said that it's opened up its borders to foreign aid in terms of dealing with heroes, or dealing with villains. Sorry, but I don't really think we're gonna see that much of that. And the only hope I have for that is Vigilantes, where we got to see the number one American hero, but that could have been years ago, so we don't know if he's still the number one or whatever. And I don't really remember that much about Vigilantes, because I read it a while ago and I haven't caught up fully. But that's also besides the point. Well, I guess it's also not, because Vigilantes is kind of relevant at the moment, because Deku has kind of become a vigilante in itself, and the Hero Association does not have as much proper structure. So heroes in themselves could be not being seen as like true heroes of the situation, but more so as vigilantes if they're not fully following hero rules or regulations or whatever. And Hawks and Endeavor and Bastionis are still definitely part of the Hero Association, as we saw with their whole kind of press conference where they were kind of apologizing for what they did, but not really, because they kind of didn't apologize and were kind of like just being like, oh yeah, we did this, it's alright, it's okay. But a lot of people were also speculating that when we were seeing Deku for the first time, after his kind of changes as an individual, like he was going to be in America, based on what Horikoshi was drawing as the kind of background and what Deku was standing on, which they assumed was actually a building in New York City, which would mean that Deku would be training or something in America, even though the one thing we did see of foreign countries as of late is that Deku got his like kind of quirk stabilizer to help him not break his limbs constantly, which could connect back to the movie, and I don't know how soon they want to involve that, but that could be a good way of tying in American involvement in foreign countries. And also, I guess what we saw before could have been a sort of kind of feeling of foreshadowing, but not properly introducing us into that kind of different environment as the heroes and everyone else moves on. But I feel like most of the people in UA are probably going to still be in Japan for a while, because they got their hands full, especially with even other people coming to now come and live in these hero schools, because they're equipped to shelter people. So Deku being separated from the regular class is definitely a person that I could see ending up in a different place to help him grow and evolve as a character, especially after the end of chapter 310, where the rest of the vestiges were like, okay, we gotta speed this up, because we've seen that Deku is definitely getting stronger. He's definitely gotten buffed as of late, but other characters are kind of getting nerfed, as we've seen with Muscular getting taken out in less than a chapter, which was kind of sad for a guy that we spent like a whole kind of mini arc on, for Deku to go 1,000,000%. Oh, Jesus, I did not like that arc that much, but let's move on. Shigaraki. We all know the guy. We all love the guy or hate the guy, depending on if you're a hardcore My Hero standboy or the rest of us. He's a complicated cookie, I'll say that, because as we know, he does have himself a tragic backstory, and he is hurting inside or whatever. But In my mind, as you probably already could tell by the rest of this video, he is not redeemable in the slightest in my mind. He killed a lot of people directly and indirectly, and his destructive power has gone through the roof. Shigaraki as a character is not something that Horikoshi is just going to put away right away, because you can tell that he really loves writing and exploring this character, even though a lot of people are speculating that One for All is just going to or All for One is just going to take Shigaraki and now just use his body as a puppet for the rest of the series, which is not going to happen. And if Horikoshi does this, I will seriously be mad and never pick up this series again. But it's obvious that Horikoshi is still trying to set up this sort of dichotomy between the two characters, of them both kind of amassing their own kind of like little mini forces, with Deku not even knowing it yet fully because of the three pro heroes that are kind of tailing him behind. And then of course he has All Might there and his vestiges, obviously, which also includes All Might, so All Might times 2 in this involvement, who's just kind of making sure Deku eats properly, which of course is good dad vibes, of course, but not horny boy vibes. You off-branders, you stay away from these parts. I don't want to see you here. But I'm really not sure what Horikoshi is fully going to do with Shigaraki's character, because that thing with All for One taking over Shigaraki, I feel like that's going to be getting rid of soon, because that's not something you can just keep around, especially if Horikoshi... Shigaraki is such an important character to this entire story moving forward. So he can't just be on the sidelines this entire time. We've seen his newfound power. We've seen a lot about him and his personality, especially with the My Villain Academia arc. But that's the kind of thing that sort of scares me, because that seems like it could be his like very, very main character arc that explored most of the themes with him. And I don't know if Horikoshi is trying to like leave it at that, being like now he is an evolved character and there's not going to be much else to him besides his takedown, which could involve him and Deku having a kind of heart to heart, and then that's just it. But I feel like there should be more to that, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for. So I'm gonna say after this chapter, we cut back to the rest of the students at UA, see what they're doing. The students at UA, they kind of go through their own kind of training arc, whatever, doing whatever, trying to become better heroes, whatever. And then we cut back to Deku. We see him either taking down villains like on his own, but then we get back to him going towards Shigaraki and seeing what happens with him. Or for chapter 311, we could probably just see what happens more with the first, second, and third vestiges as they start talking and discussing with each other. And also, because the second and third vestiges are now able to communicate, it probably means that Deku is getting stronger with his abilities and powers, meaning that we'll be able to see him do more fighting more coherently with all of his newfound abilities a lot more easily, which is going to be cool and fun. And other than that, the final confrontation, I feel like it may come sooner than we think. Horikoshi is probably trying to end this series maybe sooner than we expected, maybe by 400 chapters or so, which means that we still could get like a solid 90 chapters, which is a lot of time to explore certain characters and themes. Or it could be much, much longer, because if they're still in their first year somehow, I don't know how we're still here. But I might make a part 2 of this. I don't feel like this was very coherent in what I was saying. I feel like I was just blabbing a lot, talking about a lot of different aspects, that I might go into more specifics maybe with a part 2, or let me know if you want me to go into like very specific aspects of like a certain character or whatever, because I'm willing to do that, because I've kind of run out of ideas at this point. So if you like the video, please do like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly share, because these videos do not get many views, so it would be nice if they could get many views. If you have a friend, a mother, a grandmother, a dog, whatever, I don't really care, as long as they're watching and as long as they reach that 30-second mark to give me a view, that's cool, that's all right. Maybe they get interested, maybe they sub, maybe they don't. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. So if you liked what you saw, please do all those things, and I'll see you probably not tomorrow, but maybe, depending on how willing I am to make a video, and goodbye.